Welcome to the Moulding Private Practice Show, where we help healthcare practitioners in private practice keep true to their purpose and build a life of mastery by providing the knowledge, skills, and tools to bring their dreams to life. In this episode, we talk about how you can build your private practice over time. Liverpool Football Club and the South African Rugby Teams are recent examples of teams that were able to achieve sporting glory by building their team systematically over time. You can do the same with your private practice. Hi, Shaz. Ready to go?
Hi, Oliver. Yes, very ready.
Cool. So I think I wanted to just do a recap of this week and just discuss, what was done and just pretty much, talking through the next week as well, and also talk about building something over time. And I think, it's a very important concept because we always want everything now. I mean, I remember, in the first few businesses that I had, I always thought, okay, if we had X amount of clients and we could do this and, we could earn a fortune in 2 months. And, obviously life never works like that. I mean, even doesn't matter what success story you look at, almost no one becomes an overnight success. And, it's normally the hard work that you do before that actually gives you what you wanted anyway. So I thought, we can talk about that. Is there something around that stuff that you would like to chat about as well?
Well, as you can see, I'm wearing a Springbok shirt because I think if you really want to go back and look at, putting in the hard work to get to that success, if we actually look at the 3 times that Springboks won the World Cup, you have to consider that before that, they weren't even in the running. They weren't even considered to be potential champions. But the hard work, that constant effort to get through and just be the best that you could be, paid off at the end. I mean, if you look at 95 World Cup, and South Africa had just come out of apartheid. We only just moved into the new Rainbow Nation, and the Springboks were very much considered the apartheid regime sports team. And yet, just through that really hard work and perseverance, they pulled off what could be considered as almost a sporting miracle. They won the World Cup, and they won it with the support of the people behind them, which is something that as a nation, we'd never had before. We'd never had the entire country supporting a team. And that legacy has carried on. If you look at the 2007 Rugby World Cup, I mean, the year before, we lost horribly to France in the very same stadium that we wound up beating England in to take the World Cup. And that just purely came down to the year leading up to the World Cup, that hard work, that determination, that constant striving to be the best that you could be, the putting in the extra hours in training, the watching the replays and the blow-by-blow playbacks to see what were we doing wrong, what were we doing right, how do we improve. And I think that could be translated into any business. Even if you don't get it right the first time, go back, have a look. Where did you make the mistakes? How do you use those mistakes and learn from them so that you don't repeat them again and you do move to the next stage? We mentioned it earlier in the week where a new practitioner might be sending out invoices 2 months after the session. How do you learn from that? You go back and you realize, okay, I need to send my invoices out more regularly. So then you start looking at, do I send them daily, weekly, monthly? And you start building on that prospect to get that regular cash flow, to start building that practice to where you want it to be. But I think our greatest win was probably last year's. Nobody gave the Springboks any chance of winning the last World Cup. And I think Rassie Erasmus's change from there is pressure all over. But you know what? For 80 minutes on the field, there shouldn't be pressure. The pressure is sitting at home. You're playing rugby, whether we win or whether we lose, we're doing this for our country, our nation. And that's what actually drove the team, was there wasn't pressure to play. The hard work had been put in. It was now just a case of playing the game. And if you put the hard work in practice and you know, okay, my billing is right, my financials, everything is in order. All you have to do is rock up to play the game. All you have to do is be there and present for the sessions, and the rest will come. But it won't come if that hard work's not put in the beginning.
Yeah, I like that, and it's actually I didn't realize that you were such a big Springbok fan, and I mean I still remember watching it together because we were at the Professional Minds Conference in Cape Town, and I think it was the semi-final. And so for anyone listening to this and watching this, it's kind of weird because we're talking about sporting stuff, and but what was amazing is because we were watching on my laptop during the breaks at the conference, and all of these, these healthcare practitioners, all of these ladies, because at the conference, I mean, they were like 95% ladies, and all of the ladies will be coming and saying, what's the score, and like, how are we doing? So it's you're completely right. It's not a yeah, it's definitely a nation kind of thing, and I was quite surprised to see how many practitioners were actually into the rugby at that stage. Obviously, it's a World Cup, so it's quite big as well. But that was quite refreshing to see, and also how excited you got, like with the, with the game as well. So yeah, it was actually very cool. And I think so. If I look at it from a, so I got a Liverpool jersey on, which again, I don't think many of our clients will actually think about it or be Liverpool supporters. But I've always so that's more English football. But I've always been a Liverpool supporter, and I kind of like I mean, we didn't have a TV kind of growing up for a large part of my childhood, but I remember in the first year of high school, and someone asked me, so who do you support? And the only one that I could remember from primary school was Liverpool. I mean, I never watched a game of theirs. I didn't I didn't know any players. I just knew Liverpool because they were in the news, because there was it was the Hillsborough incident. And I remember, that was, a huge topic in school at that time. And so I just chose, I support Liverpool. And from there, the identity was kind of made. And I, always, kept up to date with Liverpool, obviously because you got teased when Liverpool lost, which was kind of juvenile, but, that's how things used to happen. And, up to the point where every year, and then it kind of, Liverpool were, from a historical point of view, up to 1990, they were one of the most successful Premier League team. And then between 1990 and 1994, like so coincidentally, that's when high school happened for me, was the worst time, and they kind of like lost the plot, and they never won a Premier League since 1990, and it was like Manchester United that became this team that just kept on winning, which was incredible as well. I mean, if you were a Manchester United supporter and not a Liverpool supporter, but or if you were a Manchester United supporter. But the reason I'm saying this as well is, I mean, through all of that time, I mean, I always, if I could, I would watch the games. And in the last few years, I mean, if there's one thing I do watch, it's, the Liverpool games if I can. And so they got this manager in a few years ago. His name is Jurgen Klopp. And just systematically, he always, the one thing I like about him, I mean, obviously I don't know him as a person, but the one thing I like about him, and almost everyone seems to like about him as well, is that he's honest. He comes to the press conference, he's like, we made a mistake here, we made a mistake there, but this is what we're going to do. And sorry, I didn't know about that. And it's just that honesty, about it. But over the years, like for 4 or 5 years now, I saw him systematically start making changes to that Liverpool team to almost give them that identity and make that incremental improvements, whether that was in terms of using the existing players to play in the style that he wants it to be, or bringing on players that kind of suited what he wants the team to be. And last year, well, a few months ago, Liverpool won their first Premier League title in 30 years, which is, that is a story. It's similar to your, the South African rugby story of, the South African team winning the World Cup. It's like that is the ultimate. And it was good to see that, and it's good to see that if you do make the changes and you do keep at it and, you're smart about it and you don't lose faith, that you can actually achieve that. So yeah, so that's like that's my version of the story. Obviously, I'll be like I resonate with your story with the rugby because I was there as well, and and we watched it, and like, and obviously it's like quite recent as well. But I like that idea of being able to achieve something that you kind of set out to, but at the same time, not quite getting there. Liverpool 1 season ago, they came so close. They were second, and they were the team with the highest number of points that came second, but never won the Premier League, if that makes sense. And they were just put to it, right at the last minute.
No, wholeheartedly. I mean, if you look at the 2015 Rugby World Cup, I mean, South Africa went all the way. They made it into that semi-final, and they lost out to New Zealand in the dying seconds of that World Cup. And yes, New Zealand went on to win it, but put that heart and that effort in, and to come out at just missing it. But again, it's what you say. It's put the work in. It's put the effort. You might not get it this time, but you just keep doing it, so that next time you get those points. You don't get pipped at the very last second. You actually go over that finish line. And I think that's where sport resonates with so many people, is that it takes you right to the edge of your seat. And that passion is what I find a lot of healthcare practitioners actually have as well, is they want to be there. And if you just put in that work, you'll get there. You'll get over that finish line.
Yeah. I do also want to say, that we're mentioning, those are the, the ultimate of winning the Rugby World Cup or winning the Premier League. I think what Jurgen Klopp also said is that is not what defines success. And I think it's more the journey of what they were on. And I mean, it's interesting because 2 weeks ago, I mean, Liverpool got beaten by their highest margin ever in their history, I think, or for a really long time, which was 7-2, which was like, no one expected it. And so, like even after that, he was like, we made a mistake. It was a bad day. And I think the key point to that is you are going to have a bad day. And, just because you didn't win the World Cup doesn't mean that the team wasn't successful or didn't achieve anything or didn't try their best. So when I relate that back to, to our clients and even to ourselves, is the first thing is know what success is and have a plan around that. And then the second thing, and that's the biggest thing I want to get, when I want people to take out of this episode, is to say that you just need to make incremental changes to be able to get there. You don't have to make drastic changes, because those normally would never work anyway, because there's a certain amount of time you need to be able to settle into a new idea, or a new idea to settle into your business or your practice. But you do need to make incremental changes that kind of fit in with that success factor and that plan that you have. And, in the last week, I was reading a book. It's been on my list for a long time, though. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I listen to lots of these podcasts, and it always kind of pops up that you want to read this book. And I just finished it this week, and it's actually brilliant from that perspective as well. It's what he talks about. It's the small habits. It's the small things that you do on a daily basis that actually make the difference. It's not the big things. It's the smaller things, but it's the smaller repeated things that make the difference. And we all relate to this, but the health part, or keeping your weight in check, or or eating right. It's not the one pizza that kind of throws the whole diet out of whack, or it's not the one time that you didn't do cardio or strength training that you lost the plot. It's normally because you missed it like 5 days, or maybe even 365 days, that you actually lose the plot. It's like, but if you keep at it and just constantly, doing your part 3 times a week, as, almost all, physical trainers or physios or anyone in health, tells you, 3 to 4 times a week, 30 minutes a day or 30 minutes a session, should be more than enough to maintain a healthy lifestyle. But it's that stuff of not doing that stuff, that atomic habits, those small things that actually make a huge difference.
It definitely is, and even using the examples that we used earlier, it's that getting up every day, going to training, that making sure that you answer the phone, making sure you return those phone calls, slow and steady wins the race, and just making sure that you're consistent. Like you said, you're not going to lose all the weight by going to the gym once. You need to go 2 to 3 or 4 times a week. You need to spend at least 30 minutes. And if you don't do it, you're not going to get the results. And with anything, and business, life, health, wealth, it all starts with, make that commitment and just consistently work towards it.
Yeah. So if I talk about, the next week or maybe even the next, few weeks, and what this means for me is we've been revising some of the processes and, from a team point of view, just getting better and better at doing this. It would be amazing if like we just won the World Cup, and everything just kind of worked perfectly, but it never works like that. You have to kind of see what's happening in practices of our clients. You kind of have to see where they're struggling or where, like it's just struggling in general, and then how the team can kind of rise to that. So that's, one of the huge things that we kind of taking into it. On a personal journey point of view, like I'm busy developing a new product, for healthcare practitioners, which I think is going to be like amazing, once it's out. But again, it's taking all of that experience and kind of putting that and coming up with something new. That's another tool or another weapon that they can possibly put into their plans or their journeys that they're on at the moment. But the reason I'm mentioning that is, I spoke about sometime, in one of the previous episodes about me coming from a development background. When I started moving into management, obviously I lost lots of those things. And I, we always got other people to do the development or, I did part of the development, but never owned the product from scratch. So for me as well, it's been lots of like learning, back to basics. Fortunately, I haven't veered too far off the path, but it's interesting looking at my own transition, looking at the new technologies, looking at how to do things differently from what I thought it should be. But also enjoying that process, like the Liverpool team is just enjoying the process of getting better and learning something new and then being able to show something at the end of it. And hopefully it is like a World Cup or winning the Premier League in terms of coming up with this amazing software product that, people love and like, similar to our other products. But that, for me, is not the end goal. The end goal is to, do I feel comfortable enough that we could put out something of value, and can I enjoy that process in the meantime?
Yeah, look, for me, I think it's about that consistency. It's about that constantly learning to improve your skill set, improve your knowledge, your understanding. And one of the most amazing things over the last few years is just that constant, every day something new comes up that you look at and go, okay, well, how do we make this better? How do we solve that issue? And I think that constant drive to get better and to know that you don't know everything and there's always going to be somebody who you can learn from really works. So from my side, one of my biggest passions is obviously video games, and I can tell you it drives my partner crazy sometimes. I will sit on the same level for hours and die in the exact same spot and eventually work out, okay, hang on, you need to swap your weapon, and that's how you get through. And I think that translates into business in every way, shape, or form. You're going to fall, you're going to stumble, you're going to make mistakes, but you just keep going and you enjoy the ride to get there. But there's no better feeling than when you've spent hours and hours and you finish that game, or you've put in all that effort and all that hard work, and the end of the year comes and you look back and you go, actually, you know what? I had a really great year in practice this year. I made profit. There was enough left over to go away with the family. It was a good year. And that all starts with just repeating those same steps every day to make sure that you are on that journey and you're getting there. And knowing that you're not going to get it right 100% of the time, but that you're going to keep trying until you do get it right.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, if I had to take two things probably out of that I didn't think of already, would be a tenacity. So just keeping at it, because like you said in the video game thing, is like, for an hour, just kind of spawning in the same area and, just doing it again and doing it again. That kind of resonates from a sporting example point of view. And the other thing is actually not to give up. If I think of the sporting kind of analogy as well, it's like, some things are working and other things are not. Don't keep the things that are working and throw that out as well. And don't say, okay, let's just start from scratch now. Let's just replace the whole team. Because I've seen some sporting teams actually do that. It's like everyone is bad. And they throw the whole team out and they rebuild the team. And I always think, yeah, that can't really work. But it's a constant tweaking. So even when Jurgen Klopp came to Liverpool, it wasn't like he threw all of the players out. He worked with the team, the team that was there. And then when he found that actually this player in particular doesn't quite suit that style of play that he wants, or this behavior that he wants, just replace that player and just build it up over time. So I think, the tenacity, and then the keeping what works and then taking out the things that don't work and changing that over time is a key part. If I think back about this week as well, it's, starting this content and this show has been amazing. I mean, we've been talking about it for a long time, but to be able to get, to stuck into it and actually start doing it. Is it going to be the best kind of out there? I'm not sure. Is it the worst? I'm hoping not. But, it's going to be a evolution. Like I told you when I pitched the idea initially, is I think, if we just keep at it, because we know we have value to offer. So it's just packaging that value, listening to clients, and just keep on doing it. I think will make a big difference, not just for the clients, but also for ourselves, and also for the journey that we on in terms of where we are.
Yes, I think that's definitely the way it'll go. Each day we'll make small improvements and just keep working towards getting to the journey that we want.
Okay, I think we can kind of leave it there. Thanks for the last week. I'm looking for the next one. I'm looking forward to the next one. And I think, like I say, if I had to give people a taste of what we want to kind of bring into it, it would be more tools and resources, or talking about that, about things in private practice, looking at more content that's relevant. We started talking about things like social media and financials and things like that. And then I'm really hoping as well to bring in lots of case studies. And by that, I mean, not just case studies of existing clients, but case studies of clients that want to work with us, and also case studies of people that are considering private practice at some point in the future. It would be nice to get a diverse approach to this common, topic, which is, how do you make a private practice for a healthcare practitioner successful?
I think that's definitely the route that we're going to go along, and we'll cover all sides of it, from the operational aspects to the growth aspects, and bring in as many case studies and guests as we can to help people just get to where they want to be.
Amazing. Thanks, Shaz. I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Oliver. Speak to you soon.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. As always, stay tuned, and we'll speak to you in the next episode.